If you haven't heard, sadly, the IDF publicly, our thoughts are with all of the hostage families and our love and prayers that we can bring the rest of them home now, alive. AIC is a nonpartisan, it's non-denominational, it's for truly everybody and is the definition of grassroots. So we do appreciate you being here to learn more about us, to volunteer with us, to contribute to making more events happen. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, send a message on the AIC email or in any of the many ways that are listed on this slide. Thank you, of course, to our sponsors. We definitely couldn't have done it without the Jewish Interest-Free Loan Association of Georgia, the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta, their gather grants, Israel and Atlanta, our wonderful Consulate General of Israel to the Southeast United States office, and B'nai Torah, Congregation B'nai Torah. So our partner JIFLA, if you want to go volunteer in Israel, if you need a loan, they provide interest-free loans, and definitely check them out because it's much better to be able to go help and not run up credit card bills and interest. So JIFLA is a wonderful gift to those who need a little bit of assistance temporarily, and their loans are available. So please check them out. We are very fortunate to have wonderful promotional partners. You may have heard of us through them. I want to thank them all. We appreciate you and our media partners. And we're very fortunate to be here with David Sussman yet once again. David. I'll also let everyone know that the Q&A feature is on. The reason being is we would love you to ask questions. Any questions you have, ask. If you don't get to ask while we're doing it, email. I'll see if I could get you the answers. We're all here together. Thanks again, David, for everything you do and for being here with us today. David's muted. So hopefully his mic will be unmuted. Again, the beautiful thing about being live is that we could experience and you could see exactly what's going on.
Thank you, Cheryl, for that
There we go.
introduction. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in right now on this very ominous and sad day as we all woke up to the same news that 6 of our beloved dear hostages were killed by Hamas as the IDF was approaching where they were being held captive in one of the tunnels underneath Rafah. Just moments away from being rescued, unfortunately, they were murdered. It's just crazy that today, of all days, that this should happen, as we here at the Atlanta Israel Coalition are bringing all of you there to Hostage Square, which is located here in Tel Aviv. And I want to ask the question, as we look up at some of the beautiful high-rises here in Tel Aviv, the beautiful white buildings you can see behind me, the Israeli towers. Why is Hostage Square actually located here in Tel Aviv? It can't be because it's the largest population, because Tel Aviv isn't the largest city here in Israel. That would be Jerusalem. And it can't be that this is the financial district, because we're not dealing with finances here. Can't be that this is the seat of the theater, of the arts, of all the great museums that are located here in Israel, because unfortunately, This isn't theater. This is real life that we're dealing with now for 330 days. So why is Hostage Square located in Tel Aviv? I'm going to give you a little hint as you look over here towards the left-hand side. It has to do with the group of buildings that you can see in front of you. Now, I'm not going to give you the answer right now, but we're going to come back to it at the end of our tour. Rather than starting off right in Hostage Square and feeling the heaviness, which for all of us here in Israel, we feel in such a visceral way. It's so difficult thinking of the horrors, the trauma, the tragedy of October 7th, but October 7th is happening day in and day out for all of the hostages and all of their families. I'm going to begin today by just walking through the streets of Tel Aviv. And as we walk through the buildings, sidewalks, you'll see everywhere posters, stickers, so many captions related to the hostages, related to what's happening in the war right now. So as we walk towards Hostage Square, we find ourselves in a very unique area. And this is the location of the Sarona market. Now, a lot of people have heard of Sarona. If you visited Israel, you may have come here to Sarona. And most people, when they come here, they go to like the main building, which is like the Faneuil Market. I'm from Boston originally. The Faneuil Market, it's got this massive and amazing food court with foods from all over the world that Jews returning to Israel brought the taste from their former places of residence here to Israel. But really, Sarona consists of all of the buildings that you can see around me. And the Sarona market was actually built in 1871 by a group of German Christians, Protestants, who were also Zionistic and wanted to help the Jews in their return to our ancestral homeland by helping us build an infrastructure. They built the first train that went from Yafo to Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem. They built the first hotels in the city of Haifa. And they also built the area of the German colony in Jerusalem. They moved out here, believe it or not, as we look up towards this old windmill, and we can see the fruit trees. It looks like this is pomelo, maybe grapefruit that's growing. You know, citrus is wildly popular and goes really well here in Israel. And just on the other side, you can see some banana trees that are growing here. And this is reminiscent of this area that when the German Templars, that's what they were known as, came here, really turned this into an agricultural area. But unfortunately, as time went by, and after a couple generations of these Germans living here in Israel and really helping the Jewish people, very much part of their ideology, wanting to see the return of the Jews from the exile coming home here to the land of Israel. After a few generations and after World War I, and as we started to approach World War II, and we know as Germany turned into Nazi Germany, the ideology of the Germans that were living here changed as well. Many of the Germans that were living here sent their kids to be educated back in Germany, and it was there that they were taught the ideas of Nazism. And by 1941, right here in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, and Haifa, and all of these German colonies scattered around throughout the land of Israel, you started to see flags of Nazi Germany. Of course, this was horrifying to us living here, the Jewish people, but it was also horrifying to the British, because the British, as we know, were at war with the Germans. And so slowly but surely, the Germans were thrown out of the land of Israel, many of them going to Australia, where those communities still remain to this day. But this area was used for a while by the municipality of Israel. Different ministries were housed here, but it fell completely derelict for many, many years. And it was probably about 15 years ago that a complete renovation of this area took place. And today, the Sarona Market is a hustling, bustling, beautiful, amazing area filled with cafes, like the one that's empty here, but it will be open this evening and it will be filled with people, kids riding their bicycle, feeding the fish in the fish ponds. But I want to go back to this idea that when the Germans first arrived, their ideology was all about helping us. And after a couple or a few generations, it changed to wanting to kill us. And whereas this is very hard to swallow, it also gives me a little bit of hope. Because if people can change in 2 generations for the worse, it also means that after a couple generations, they can change for the better. And I hope that at the end of this war, and we rid the world of Hamas and this horrible ideology, this desirous attitude to eliminate the Jewish people, and not just from the land of Israel, but from the face of the earth. Now, hopefully those individuals in Gaza and the Arabs living in Judea and Samaria will educate themselves and the next generation and the generations to follow to be more peace-loving, more inclusive, and become part of the fabric of our beautiful international society and help lead humanity to a better future. Tel Aviv in general, we're going to walk to one of the main streets and head around the corner to Hostage Square. But I feel like this gives me just a little bit of an opportunity as we stand in wonderment, really, of all the buildings that are being erected right now, the ones that are standing, the beautiful gardens. I mean, this is truly a $1 trillion city. But if we were to take a step back in time, only to 1909, with the exception of this small little German community here, everything you see in Tel Aviv was nothing but sand dunes. In 1909, a group of 66 Jewish families purchased a piece of property from the Ottoman Empire, or during the Ottoman Empire, that was only roughly about 16 acres. And again, it was all sand. And they came here and with their own bare hands, they didn't hire Arab labor or foreign labor. With their own bare hands, they shoveled that sand and built foundations, which would become the first homes of Tel Aviv. And the name Tel Aviv, where does the name Tel Aviv come from? So for those of you who have visited Israel, you have for sure visited what is known as a tel. And a tel is a Hebrew word that is used around the world in archaeological circles to define a man-made hill, which was developed due to civilization upon civilization building on top of one another. The previous civilization to live there, either their community destroyed by natural disaster or by war, and then the next community settled in, the next community settled in. So a tel is something that is old. And Aviv, well, Aviv is the Hebrew word for spring, which is a time of renewal. So Tel Aviv means old, new. I'm sure many of you know where I'm going with this. There was a small pamphlet that was written by the godfather of modern political Zionism by the name of Theodor Herzl. And his pamphlet was called Alt Neuland. The old Jew, the new Jew in the old land. Alt Neuland. They really wanted to name Tel Aviv Alt Neuland, but the Turks at that time would never allow such a thing because it was too, well, Zionistic. So they tricked the Turks and they called it Tel Aviv, which any Jew living here in the land knew exactly what that meant. So we're going to head down this street. As you can see, the new modern buildings over here. And just another block or so, we're going to find ourselves in Hostage Square. And I'm already just looking out And you can see the building here that says Checkpoint, a very important high-tech company here. And you can see written on the side of the building, it says, "Bring them home now." Everywhere you look here in Tel Aviv, the buildings, the vehicles, gentleman crossing the street right now, maybe somebody he knows personally, pictured on his shirt, and with the saying, "Bring Itai home now," right? It's got the name of the person on there. Bring Itai home now. So come with me as we cross the street. And then I'm going to try and cross over to the left-hand side because I can already see that they're setting up for some type of event. I don't know if protest is really the right word, but definitely a communal gathering looking to share and comfort one another in the misery and the sorrow of 6 of our hostages coming home dead today. And look at this, this traffic symbol here. You can see all the stickers, and everywhere you look, signs, pictures of those that were kidnapped. You can see political statements both to the left and to the right. Everybody looking to share a message of about hope, things for different people. And you can see here this car with the yellow flags. You can see on my wrist the yellow bands that I have on. Yellow being the symbol, really the international symbol of those that are held in captivity, those that are far away from home, and the desire to bring them close once again. So I just want to emphasize, this is a live tour. It's one of the things that the Atlanta Israel Coalition has really prided themselves on in providing this type of content to people around the world, whether it was during COVID or now. And we really have no idea what's going to happen around us. We don't know what we're going to walk into, what we're going to see. This is all very spontaneous. And right here behind me, you can see in Hebrew, it says, Ma'in ze haya haben shalcha. What if this was your son? And we're seeing a picture here of Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, who unfortunately was killed in captivity just a few hours ago. And here are pictures of the 6 hostages. We all feel so close to all of them, but I think especially as the Anglo community, we probably feel the most closest to Hirsch, being an American Israeli, and his parents, John and Rachel, have sharing words internationally all over the world, over and over again. I've had, I can't say the pleasure, but I've definitely been in awe and in the presence of them multiple times, hearing them speak here in Israel. But I also have a very deep connection to Alexander Lobanov as well. One of the first times that I was down at the Nova Music Festival site, I met a young man that was good friends with Alex, and they escaped the festival together in the same Jeep. And they rode through the back roads and the dirt roads, and they got to Kibbutz Alumim, and it seemed to be quiet and it seemed to be safe. And so Alex and his friend Ohad jumped out of the back of the Jeep in order to make a phone call. Alex to his wife, Michal, and to his 2-year-old son, Tom, his wife, who was 5 months pregnant at the time. When Hamas jumped on the Jeep, Alex and Ohad, no longer in the Jeep, were shot at. In order to bring the fire away from them, the Jeep sped off. The terrorists chased the Jeep. The Jeep was able to survive. It's a whole nother story that some other time we'll get into. Alex and Ohad hid in separate places. Ohad was never found. Unfortunately, Alex was found by some civilians. And we know that because outside of Kibbutz Alumim, they showed the capture of Alex and him being brought into Gaza. And my wife actually, when his wife, Michal, gave birth, was able to raise some money from folks like you and helping organizations like the Atlanta Israel Coalition was able to purchase for them everything they needed for the baby. And we are just so heartbroken over all the hostages and the torment they're going through day in and day out. But I have to tell you, my entire family and my kids, because we have his picture in our house and we feel very, very close to him and his wife, just absolutely gutted over the death of Alex. It's just such a crazy to see these pictures every day in every city, in every town, on every highway, and every bus stop. The faces of all the hostages looking back at us and knowing the important work that we can do no matter where we are to support them by sharing their message, but also in prayer, meditation, and various acts of kindness that we can do in order that they should merit the ultimate redemption. You know, I'll share a story as we're walking. We're just a few hundred feet from Hostage Square. But I'll share a story of an ultra-religious woman by the name of Ricky, who runs an organization that connects the ultra-religious with the ultra-secular, if you want to call it that, in order to foster unity and bring people together. And, you know, after October 7th, Ricky was visited by one of her students and one of the people who connected to her organization. It was about 2 weeks after October 7th, and Hostage Square had already been established here in Tel Aviv for reasons we'll talk about later. And he said to Ricky, he said, listen, you know, there's this Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, and there are literally tens of thousands of people. You have people from Dati Leomi, like the modern Orthodox crowd, and you have the Chiloni, the secular of Tel Aviv, and you have, you know, people with tattoos on their faces, and people that are wearing kippahs, and people who have tzitzit, and you have everybody coming together with the exception of one community, one demographic here in Israel. And that's the Haredim, that's the ultra-religious. Where are you? Where are your people? Ricky thought to herself, you know, her whole mission in life is to bring people together, and yet here is this incredible opportunity brought about through the most horrible situation, but nonetheless this opportunity to bring achdut, to bring unity, to bring the people together. And then she thought to herself, how can I go to Hostage Square? I'm a mother of 9. How can I go to Hostage Square? How can I look another mother in the eyes? How can I comfort somebody as a mother of 9 kids who has one of her children somewhere in a tunnel underneath Gaza? But she brought herself to that point where she could come to Hostage Square. And as she approached and she walked up the stairs, the very first person that she saw was another woman wearing a dress and sort of religious garb. And this woman opened up her arms and they walked over to one another and they embraced one another and they hugged one another. And she said, my Haredi sister, where have you been? We've been waiting for you. And together, these 2 women sat with one another and cried. And that was Rachel Goldberg Poland. You see, Hostage Square, and as we're approaching it and see more and more people coming together, it really is a place. And we're going to see it with our own eyes. We're going there right now, live. People from all different walks of life coming together to comfort the families and to comfort one another, because we're all in this. We all feel the pain and the suffering that our beautiful, wonderful, amazing brothers and sisters who are held captive by Hamas right now are going through. You can see just everywhere on these walls. Look at this. Our wounds are centuries old, but so is our resilience and our strength. You know, this is a very, very sad day, but it's also a day that I hope will also give a message of resilience and one of hope. Here's Shlomo Mintzor This is the third cousin of one of my neighbors in Efrat where I live. Beautiful smile, unbelievable mustache, an incredible human being. His family members have visited my neighbors in Efrat. It's another picture of Alex, just a beautiful soul in the Neshama. He was at the Nova Music Festival. He was working there as a bartender. And his friend, the one that I was talking about that I spoke to today, because I know today was even harder for Gilad. And Gilad was in that Jeep as they fled, and Hamas was shooting at them, and his friend Dror, both Gilad and Dror, special forces in the army, immediately went into army mode. And one of Dror's specialties that he was trained in the army was how to drive under fire. And so as he was driving, he's swerving, he slams on the brakes, he makes a right, he makes a left, and the Hamasnikim, the Hamas terrorists that were chasing him, shooting RPGs at him, they were dodging RPGs, and under machine gun fire, he was able to swerve and knock the motorcycle off and knock another one off. But while all that was happening, Gilad took 2 bullets that grazed the back of his head, and he slowly but very rapidly began to bleed all over himself. And really miraculously, him, Dror, and Lali survived. Look where we are right now. There's beautiful pendulum up above, a very, very quiet area here in Tel Aviv. As we approach Hostage Square from the back. I think it's important. In fact, even like in a one-on-one tour, somebody who I'm, not online, not like this. This is the way I approach Hostage Square as well. Because it's almost overwhelming when you walk through the main sort of entranceway. It's just like, it's mind-boggling. And I want to take us through in a way it's a little bit more systematic, in a way that sort of reveals and unravels the various layers that can be uncovered here. And we can see just some of the unique architecture. This is the Israel Opera House over here. Not the Tel Aviv Opera House, but the Israel Opera House. You can see the shows that are being performed over here. And check out this very interesting building we can see over here. Very unique architecture. This is the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. How many of you know where the original Tel Aviv Museum of Art was? That's right. It was on Rehov Rothschild, and it was that building which used to belong to Mayor Dizengoff, which was where David Ben-Gurion, in the basement of that building, declared Israel's independence. I'm actually only thinking about it right now. How apropos that Hostage Square and this war, which does feel almost like the War of Independence all over again, should be located and juxtaposed right next to the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. But not only that, inside this museum, they have an entire exhibit that goes through various displays of artists' expression of various times here in Israel that are expressed through the various wars that were fought here in Israel. And some of the exhibits that we're seeing right now, a war that's happening in real time, will probably be on display there, hopefully very, very soon, when the exhibits don't need to be in Hostage Square, because there won't be a Hostage Square, because all the hostages will be brought home safely. Very first exhibit that we see over here, titled Overwhelmed, which was actually designed and built by 2 survivors of October 7th, one from a kibbutz called Nir Yitzchak, the other one from a kibbutz that we've all heard of called Be'eri. But it was actually designed and titled Overwhelmed prior to October 7th, because these kibbutzim that were living in the Gaza envelope were already overwhelmed by the rockets that were being fired after disengagement in 2005 when we pulled out of Gush Katif, where thereafter rocket after rocket after conflict, the citizens of this region were already in a state of trauma when October 7th hit. You can see the eyes are closed, the mouth terse. So much going on in the mind, trying to figure out a way to articulate and to express the emotions and the feelings that those people living there are and were going through. Honestly, this next exhibit really hits me very hard. And it's called Pieces of Light. And as you can see, the mirror reflecting the light of the sun, fragments of light shining through. For me, being a religious person, it expresses this idea that we all have this natural inner light, a reflection of God, that it's our duty in order for it to be revealed. But there are still 102 shining bits of light that are still held captive in Gaza today. But when we come here and we look into the reflection and we can see our own face, it really makes us all realize that it could have been any one of us. The Hamas did what they did, not just because they want our land, but they want each and every single one of us, every Jew all around the world, to no longer be here. Not here in Israel, but here, the face of this earth. It's an evil that exists, that needs to be eradicated. And please, God, should all be safe. They should all come safely home. There should be no more deaths. We should bring all of our hostages back with us as well. And here, as we're approaching the main square, we have, I find, like almost like this unusual exhibit, and all expressions of art, the interpretation is given over to the person who's witnessing it. But when I see these trees, all with names, some with signs of hostages, I think to myself that these trees somehow must reflect how the seed, the hostage who's underground, is somehow sprouting life, which is us, to stand tall, to stand erect, to stand strong, to persevere in order to keep on fighting so that their release and their own personal redemption, their own rebirthing will happen very, very soon. And as we exit the tall trees and we look to the right, you can see an area, there's a cafe, it's an indoor area, and this is like the main meeting area of family and friends of hostages and all Am Yisrael and non-Jews who are here in support of Israel and the hostages, that this is a communal gathering place, that people can share their ideas and their thoughts for the future, how we can bring about this redemption, how we can bring the hostages home. And you have people, all different ideas, right? You got a gentleman here who's playing music on his guitar, trying to bring smiles maybe to people in this very, very sad time. Or maybe he's playing for the hostages. Let's just come around the corner over here, and we can see there's all these tents. Sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not. Every tent dedicated to a different area, a different significant event that took place on October 7th. And the tent I'll buy clothes right now that I'm standing in front of is here to honor the fallen and the hostages of Kibbutz Be'eri. Kibbutz Be'eri is the largest of all the kibbutzim along the Gaza envelope. But they were also, in pure numbers, hit the hardest. 95 people were killed in Kibbutz Be'eri. 35 of them were taken hostage. A number of them are still held in captivity. One of them, we know, will not return home safely, and that's Carmel Gad, because unfortunately, she was one of the 6 that was killed by Hamas this morning. The next tent and a close relative, let's say, of Kibbutz Be'eri is near Yitzchak. And this is where the exhibit of overwhelm that we just saw, the very first exhibit, was from. We can see here a map of Israel. We can see all the places that were hit on October 7th. In red, places where people were taken hostage, from Zikim Beach all the way down to the Karen Shalom crossing, near Yitzchak, Nirim, Kisufim, Re'im, the kibbutz just 2 weeks ago that we visited together, Kibbutz Alumim, Nachal Oz, the military base that exists right next door to that kibbutz, in which the observers, the female observers who were taken into captivity, Kfar Aza, another kibbutz that was hit very, very hard, and all the rest of them. I want to show you a tent here before we actually go in. It does have the doors open, and that's of the Nova Music Festival. And this is just a very hard tent. They're all hard, but this is just a very hard tent to go into. It's very visceral. It's not meant for children. If children are watching this, like, I would even recommend guarding your eyes a little bit, because the scenes are just very difficult to swallow, as one of the parents of one of the female daughters that was killed there curated this tent. And you can see over here a woman's legs tied up, half her body inside the tent, and of course the blood around her private area because of all the rape, the carnage, and the brutality that was witnessed, experienced there at the Nova Music Festival. The speakers, the DJ equipment, eyes blind to the atrocities that happened around the world. It's okay to come in? Yeah, okay. This is the live. Yeah.
As I told you,
No problem.
asked not to be interviewed or not to.
No problem. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You know, as I said, we're here live, and you know, before I were to interview or talk to anybody, to get permission from them to be recorded, and some people prefer not to. Some people are okay with it. But here inside the tent, you can see Elkanah Bobat, which was one of the hostages, also one of the DJs from the Nova Music Festival. Very, very difficult scene to see over here. Like I said, the curator of this tent, very, very graphic, very, very difficult to witness, but also it's a necessity there to realize what exactly took place and to realize the horrors that can still be happening to our hostages in Gaza today. Thank God there are many. When you look at their sign, and all of these people were taken captivity by Hamas, but on some of them, we can see, like Noah Argamani, who was really almost the face of the hostages, at least the female ones. We saw her being taken away in one of the Jeeps, that she's been freed. Several of them freed. Several of them we can see here that they actually, I mean, most of them have already celebrated a birthday. We're only 6 weeks away from the atrocities taking place in a year, but we can also see many of them that died in captivity. Shani Luke, and we only remember her for her beautiful face and smile, and our friend Alex Lobanoff, and Hirsch, and Romy, Anan. May all of them that are still alive and still in captivity be brought home soon. take a wide turn here as we approach that common area, because over here to my right-hand side, you can actually I-4, which is a international English news program here. They're having here 6 hostages, and there's actually a rally like there are most evenings here tonight. All the hostage families really coming together, screaming out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, screaming out to the government, and screaming out to the world to bring our hostages home, and to bring them home now. And this is an area oftentimes that you'll see family and friends of hostages. They'll hold signs and people can approach them and speak to them. I have a feeling that today, with everything that happened, that I'm not seeing with my eyes right now any of the family members here, because they do make themselves known. But if I do see one, we'll ask if we can speak to one of them. But you can see people congregating here, and this is where a lot of that lively discussion and debate takes place. Various ideas of how to bring our hostages home. Here, there was just an announcement that there is a survivor that's going to, not a survivor, but family member, a friend of the hostage, but she's going to be speaking in Hebrew over here to this group. I have over here a whole area that people can come and either purchase bands or some type of call to action, that they can spread awareness back in their communities here in Israel or abroad. And obviously all of the resources that comes from this all goes to the Hostage Family Forum in order to continue the work that they're doing in spreading awareness of the situation over here, that hopefully the world will come behind us. They have everything from bands to, and I don't know if anybody here has seen this, but you also have this amazing cookbook that was put out during Shavuos called the Shavuot of Longing, and family members of the hostages, one for all of the hostages here, their favorite dish. And my wife, Melissa Sussman, headed the campaign actually here for the Hostage Forum in getting the word about this, and they sold 10,000 of these books. You can still purchase one of these books if you haven't, and it's a great way every Shabbat or any time to connect with the hostages to make one of their favorite recipes here, from puff pastry apple pie to barekas to cheesecake to I can see a lot of the recipes here are desserts, and it speaks a little bit here, challah, and it speaks a little bit about these individuals. Shalom. אנחנו עושים הסיור עכשיו לאנשים בארצות הברית. זה לייב, זה עכשיו. אולי אתם רוצים לדבר באנגלית לכולם? So one thing that I'm finding from a lot of people I'm talking to here, that they've been requested not to speak, in these very impromptu interviews that are live. And I have to assume that there's been a lot of different characters who probably have come here, and a lot of them like us with pure and good intentions and a desire only to spread positive awareness around the world. But there probably have been people that have manipulated the situation to harm Israel's interests and the Hostage Forum interests. And I think that's probably why a lot of people are telling me that they're not allowed to conduct this impromptu interview. But maybe, you know what? Let's walk around and maybe, hold on one second. Yeah? Is it possible? כן. ברוך השם, זה מה אנחנו רוצים. So this lady, מה השם שלה? זה שמירית and Sigal. Shmirit. This is a microphone.
Okay.
And maybe just tell us a little bit about Hostage Square, how long you guys have been here, some of the little באנגלית.
Okay.
Maybe bring a little bit.
Yeah. So
לא, שלח יותר.
I'll tell you a little bit about everybody at home. We have people
Okay.
from around the world. This is with the Atlanta Israel Coalition, and they've been doing solidarity trips around Israel from the Otef to the kibbutzim, and this is our first time here in Hostage Square. And we have about 150 people who are tuned in, like I said, from around the world, and everybody is a supporter of Israel and really wants to see the hostages come home now. And they all want to be here in person, but for a lot of reasons, not everybody can come. And so maybe you could
Okay,
share some
so
words with
we
them.
are volunteers. We are here already 11 months, every day, from 10 in the morning till 10 at night, 7 days a week. And we try to help the families and to raise money by selling those things that you can see here. It started with the t-shirts, and now we've got lots of things just to help to raise money.
And where can you tell us a little bit where the money goes to or how it helps?
I can tell that the money goes to the need of the families, whatever it means. Lots of families need a lot of money now. Some of them can't, or most of them can't work, of course. So whatever they need, we're here to help them. And also, most of the things that you can see here in the square is part of of our donation to the big aim to bring them back home.
Where can people back home? Can they go online? Can they purchase online? Does it ship to America?
Yeah.
Site,
No?
bring them home now.shop.
That dot shop.
Yeah,
Bring them home
now.
now dot
Shop.
shop.
And all these things you can buy on the website.
Amazing. Amazing.
And I must say that today is the most sad day.
It's a very sad day for us. We have a lot of ups and downs, and this is one of the day of the big down. And at 7 o'clock, we hope that the square will be full of people.
Tonight.
And tonight, and next to the Begin, Shah Begin, how do you say Shah? Gate. Begin Gate, to protest and to ask to bring all of them as soon as possible. Every day is too late.
Man.
Every day is too late.
And okay, thank you very much. Can you tell us a little bit about the vibe? Like, it's obviously a very sad day. How is it different today from other days? Because of we all woke up to the same news, and we all feel heartbroken from the reality.
People come and sit and try to speak to one with each other, just to be here and to feel part of something. So they are coming, they are buying a little bit, sitting, watching people goes by, and to take part.
You have like one last little message to share with everybody in the world?
That we want everybody to be back as soon as possible. Bring them home now.
Man, please God. Thank you, Irit. Thank you. At home, maybe somebody can type it in the chat. Bring them home now .shop if you guys want to buy something to help the families of the hostages. You know, it's just really dawned on me when she said that, you know, realizing that, you know, who could go to work? It's hard enough to lose a loved one. You sit Shiva 7 days, then you have the Shloshim, the 30 days, and you have the 11 months. We have a whole process of mourning in Judaism. But for all these hostage families who don't know if their loved ones are alive, God forbid, if they're no longer alive, they can't even begin that mourning. How could they possibly go to work? We need to be here for them. We really need to support them in any which way possible. You know, I'm looking at these signs all over here. You know, this kidnapped here from this kibbutz, this one from the festival, this one was a police officer. I can see the sign behind me. Carmel Gat. Every Friday, 9:30 in the morning. You know, Carmel was a yoga instructor, so they did yoga for Carmel. And it says here that they'll do it until she comes home. Kol Yom Shishi Ad Shekarmel Tachzor. Every Friday until Carmel returns. You know, we all wanted her to return home with that beautiful smile. Unfortunately, she's returning home in a body bag today. I'm going to share stories. We're looking at Carmel, and just came to my head. And as we're here live, we have to be spontaneous, right? There's a woman by the name of Yulia. Built a tent over there. It's really a prayer tent. We'll pass by it later. She's like me, a Balei Tshuva, somebody who became more observant later on in life. And her son Bar was a security guard at the Nova Music Festival. And his friend, who was just there as a party goer, saw Bar after the gunshots started to ring out throughout the festival and said, come with me, come with me, come with me, come with me, we have to go, we have to go. And he says, how can I go? I can't go. I'm here as a security. I need to help in any which way. There is no help. You have to come. And he says, I'm not going. I can't leave my post. And he tried to help as many people. And there are so many reports of people that he helped that survived and lived and escaped because of Bar. But Bar was taken hostage. To promote a sense of well-being, to promote spiritual energy, to promote redemption in her way, she began to give other families of hostages Shabbat candlesticks, a Kiddush cup, a challah board, and said, you know what, this Shabbat, let's all keep Shabbat. Let's all try and connect to some way to send out the energy in this form, in this fashion, so that we can bring all of our loved ones home. This one family said, okay, Yulia, we're going to do that. And they kept Shabbat. And the following week, reports came in that their son was killed in Gaza. And Yulia said, I can't believe it. They kept Shabbat, and this is going to happen. Why, Kadosh Baruch Hu? Why? How could you allow that to happen? They kept Shabbat so that he could come home, and now he's dead. How can I face the family? I told them everything's going to be all right. I told them if you can keep Shabbat, it's going to be okay. She went to the family to pay the shiva call, and the shiva called the mother. She ran up to you. She gave her a hug, and she says, I know it is in the merit of me keeping Shabbat that my son was brought back here to the land of Israel and had a proper Jewish burial. For those hostages that are no longer alive, and we don't know who's alive and who's not, but those that are no longer alive, may all of their bodies be brought home so that they can have that proper Jewish burial that all of us deserve. You know, and we all saw the Shabbat table. Various incarnations of it here, Hostage Square. And here we have the most recent one. Sitting underneath the old schach of the sukkah. October 7th was Simchat Torah. It wasn't Sukkot, but it was still a chag. Down there. You know, Sukkot, Rosh Chodesh, the new month of Elul is approaching us only on Tuesday. Tuesday already, it's going to be Elul. In less than like a month and a few days, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah already. In 6 weeks' time, it's going to be Sukkot. My kids at home are already excited. They're already talking about going in the backyard and building the sukkah to be able to sit with our family. You know, in America, when I grew up, I don't remember celebrating Sukkot so much. You know, it was Rosh Hashanah, it was Yom Kippur. Sukkot was a little bit less important. Here's a picture of Bar that I just talked about, Yulia's son, the security guard. But you know what? Here in Israel, everybody celebrates Sukkot, both religious, not religious. Everybody. This is a time of year that all families, they just come together. If you don't see family members for the entire year, guess what? On Sukkot, you see them. If not on Pesach, Passover, you're going to see them on Sukkot. Look at all these empty chairs. Look at all these empty chairs. Look at all these people that still need to come home for Sukkot, to be with their families, to celebrate together. How can we be whole? God forbid they're still held in captivity. But if they are, just as we invite the Ushpizin, just as we invite the 7 Tzaddikim, as we invite Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and King David and Yosef, so too we need to invite everyone who cannot sit in a sukkah. Wow. And here I am talking about it. And you have this exhibit here. The hostages are still there. And it says the time's running out, the sand is flowing through. Every now and then they flip it over, the sand going through the time glass. Time's running out, my friends. Time's running out. We need everyone's help right now in tefillah, in prayer, in meditation, in resources, in solidarity, with hugs, with hibuk. As we grapple with our broken hearts that feel like they're caged, they're trapped, they're chained. We see this exhibit. This exhibit was actually, I believe, on display at the Nova Music Festival or at another festival. You know, because what were they doing there at the Nova Festival? I mean, we're all trying to break free, right? We all feel these limitations, most of them self-imposed, some of them real. I don't know, it's coming to me like Bob Marley said, you know, only we can free our minds, our hearts. There's a poem that comes along with it. It says, one giant heart, in chains tightly bound, almost suffocated. It weeps with sorrow, aching deep, yet it beats. It bravely beats. Our hearts, they feel like they are in captivity, but we must allow our hearts to continue to beat, continue to be strong for everyone here in Israel and the families of the hostages, for the children that are still there in captivity, the Bebas twins, the beautiful redhead twins being held by their mother, crying as they're being forced into Gaza, the symbol of childhood, the crib, turned into bars, into a jail, held into captivity. The beautiful smile, playing with his toy. The caption underneath that reads, "Is he less human?" How come? No visit, no aid. Where's the Red Cross? Where are the organizations? Why aren't they demanding? Why aren't they forcing? Why aren't they trying? In order that we should be able to bring some type of humanity to them. Die. It's enough. Die in Hebrew, it's enough. It's enough already. Fingernails scratching the number of days that they're being held into captivity. This banner not being big enough to count the number of days, 330, that they've already been held in captivity. Histalklu lehem be'einayim. Look at them with your own eyes. The young ladies who are observing the border via the cameras, still being held in captivity. Here, you look, you see those that are still being held. That a reminder, when we eat our 5-course meals, and we need to. There's nothing wrong with enjoying life, but we must remember, what do the hostages have to eat? Not even a whole pita. Omer Shem Tov, another American Israeli being held in captivity. Oh, lit up here a sign that says, "You are not alone," speaking to the hostages. People are able to come here to play music, something that I'm not really gifted to do. But many a nights I sat here and I saw other people playing music, a form of intimate expression of the soul and the greatest desire to see our loved ones come home.
David, when we basically got the news about the 6 who have been found dead, do they update the memorial? Have they done anything that you've seen visibly?
I'm so sorry. I just put in the headpiece. Can you repeat that, Cheryl?
Of course. Have they updated the event, I'm sorry, the hostage square to reflect the 6 who have recently been discovered murdered? And did
So,
you take chairs away from the hostage table when people have
I
found dead?
yet. Probably, I would have to assume so. People are so involved here and invested here, and it's constantly evolving. Every time I come here, there's new exhibits. Some exhibits have been removed. So I would imagine that these changes are made immediately. I mean, there's so much attention, thought, emotion, love that's put into this place by so many people that I have to imagine so, but I can't answer for certain.
Thank you.
I want to bring you guys over here and I'm going to walk you through. Here, give me the camera. I want to walk you through here. This is an exhibit that was installed probably back in February. And it's a tunnel. The 6 hostages who unfortunately were murdered today, it just breaks my heart today, is the IDF was approaching them to rescue them, to save them, to free them. And Hamas murdered them there in the last moment. 330 days they must have spent inside a tunnel that looked just like this. There, you can see some of the beautiful faces that are still held in captivity. And it really gives a sense of how dark, how quiet. There's speakers here. The sounds that you hear, the explosions outside, the footsteps, Hamas operatives as they run through the tunnels, preparing to launch more missiles towards Israel, pop out of their tunnels to kill soldiers that are trying to liberate the hostages and free the world. And there's Carmel Gatz, one of the hostages that was killed today. Please God, all the hostages will see the light at the end of the tunnel. All of us shall see the light at the end of the tunnel and be able to experience that redemption. And this is that prayer tent that Yulia, the mother of Bar, established. A place, you know, for everybody, for their various forms of expression and how they see the liberation of the hostages to come about, whether it's doing yoga for Carmel, whether it's playing music, whether it's talking and speaking, whether it's protesting, waving flags, or here, whether it's prayer. And every Saturday night on Motzei Shabbat, and the Sabbath comes out, this tent is filled with people singing, sharing stories, praying, crying on one another. And we all have our own of expressing our and our need for these hostages, for our brothers and home. You mentioned, Cheryl, the chairs and the sukkah, the Shabbat table, and there's a whole nother set of chairs right here. And for me, this is one of the most powerful exhibits. And I remember some of the hostages come home.
David, we're losing you.
Sorry, do you have me now?
We
I'm gonna
do.
stay a little closer, Phil. So what we see over here are these chairs, and the chairs are facing the headquarters of the hostage forum. And when you take a look at the chair, what they have is pictures of the eyes of some photographs of the hostages that are held in captivity. The empty chairs, because they're not here with us, are staring out at the hostage forum, reminding those in the building that they're watching, they're looking with hopeful eyes, that not just the hostage forum, but all of us will be successful in bringing them home. But maybe even deeper than that, is I think to myself, you know, as a child, I remember looking at my grandparents and talking to my parents as I learned about the Holocaust. I would ask my grandparents, where were you? My dad was born in 1935. He's the youngest of 5 children. I have 2 uncles that actually served in World War II. And I remember asking them, you know, what did you do during that time? And these eyes are asking us now, what are we doing? But it'll be our grandchildren, some of them not born yet, our great-grandchildren will be blessed to meet them, are going to ask us, you know, October 7th will never be forgotten. We'll always talk about October 7th. And they're going to ask us, where were you? And what did you do? How did you help? You're going to stay close to me. You know, we started this tour and we asked ourselves, why Tel Aviv? Why is Hostage Square located here in Tel Aviv? Can't be because it's the largest population, because it's not. So why here? Is it the arts? No. Is it because it's the financial district? No. We started our tour on the other side of this weird, unique tower that's piercing up to the sky. We walked around it and we approached Hostage Square on the backside. That weird tower that's reaching up is the headquarters of the Ministry of Defense. And whether we agree with it, whether we like it, they're the ones that are charged with bringing them home. So Hostage Square is here every day, reminding those that are going into the Ministry of Defense, which just a couple of weeks ago, as all of us across Israel prepared our bomb shelters and supplied it with all sorts of food and drinks. And my family personally and my kids, we all slept in the bomb shelter because Iran is going to attack us. And Bibi Netanyahu and the head of the Ministry of Defense was bunkers there underground, because that's where all the decisions in the military are being made, the higher echelons. And here at Hostage Square in the rallies, they scream out and they call. All say that. That's also where you are right now. Say.
David, we missed what you
Bring
said,
them
so we
home
can't
now.
say it.
I'm going to
Bring them home
use the
now,
other. Hold on.
everybody.
Bring them home now.
Let's all
Bring
together.
them
Bring
home
them home
now.
now.
We have right here the tick. I don't even know what to call this. This is something that we should see when we're celebrating New Year's Eve. But instead, it's not counting down, it's counting up. It's been already 330 days, 9 hours, 38 minutes, 7 seconds. And it just keeps on growing. We need to bring them home now. And the only way we're going to do that is with Achdut, with all of us together, our compassion, our prayers, our resources, our donations, our thoughts. And I want to thank all of you for participating today in this tour of Hostage Square. On such an ominous, sad day, 6 hostages were found murdered. I want to thank the Atlanta Israel Coalition for everything that you're doing and your support for Israel. If you don't know where to give charitable donations, Atlanta Israel Coalition is an amazing organization to do so. They're constantly doing everything they can to help the war effort, to help Israel, and to spread awareness and spread truth and content like this for all of us to connect in the deepest way possible. I have a few more minutes here. If anybody has any questions, I have my headpiece in right now. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, David. And thank you all for being here. We have one question asking about the chairs you just showed. And they asked if you could translate what the sign behind it said.
The sign behind it says Akshav, now, now. The time is now.
Time is definitely now. You mentioned, bringing
Charlie, you
them.
still with me?
I think I lost
Yep.
everybody.
Nope, I'm here. We're all here. I was going to ask you another question, if that's okay. You can hear me. Can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
David, can you hear me?
I can probably hear you. You can't hear them.
Well,
Okay,
I
I can't
can
hear
hear
you at the
you.
moment because our second camera, our second, well, the headphone just doesn't work right now. So I can
So I was going to point out
see
that
you, Cheryl. Hold on. Sorry.
David mentioned the Jewish burials,
Okay.
but the truth is,
All right,
I
I
gotcha.
gotcha.
yeah, now you're in echo mode. I was just saying that
Gotta put it on mute.
yep, you're echoing. This is the beautiful thing about a live tour, everyone. Like, we're actually there live, but sometimes there are hiccups, as you know.
Well, I won't echo anymore. We put the other
That's
microphone on mute.
beautiful. Thank you. So I was just mentioning you said everyone, the 6 people who have just been discovered need to come home for, a Jewish burial, which of course, absolutely is a must. But I think it's important to also mention that, not everyone who's been kidnapped, murdered, attacked by these terrorists, they're not all Jewish.
Yeah, thank you
It's
for bringing that up.
humanitarian.
Sometimes we forget that. And of course, we all celebrated here in Israel last week when we had the Bedouin hostage that somehow was able to escape and was saved by the IDF forces. All of Israel celebrated that.
Exactly. And so I don't know that the world realizes how much of a true humanitarian crisis this has been. You always hear about the devastation of the IDF responding, but the reality is these people aren't coming home any other way. And the terrorists are hiding in populated areas. So it's just a heartbreaking situation. And some of these hostages, they come from all over the world. They're all different backgrounds. So yeah, people are asking if there's anything more we can do in the USA to spread the word. And I think, David, you've been so incredible helping us do that. It's priceless to be there with you right now. So thank you so much. If you have any suggestions you want to give the viewers, please do.
I think, there's going to be a follow-up email, as there always is with all of these tours, and I'm sure that the Atlanta Israel Coalition will add some links in there for people to go to the hostage forum, to bring them home now.shop. There are many organizations out there. To name just a few of them right now, I feel like is going to detract from so many of the great organizations that are out there. I'm on Facebook, David Sussman Israel Tours. Reach out to me, send me a private message if you want. I will respond to any messages that come in. My email address will be sent out as well on the follow-up email. I personally am here on the ground and work with several different organizations that are doing incredible things on the ground to help out widows of warriors, to help out families that have just been in shatters because of the war, whether it's their husband, wife, the father, mother, siblings that are off in Gaza that have unfortunately been killed. There's a lot of need out there. There's a tremendous amount of need. There's a tremendous amount of ways to help. And I'm happy to share them with you privately and to see if something resonates. If you want to do something right now, my suggestion would be to give to the Atlanta Israel Coalition. They're using the money that is being funneled through the organization for incredible work, real work, needed work. And, they're a wonderful place and a destination for your resources.
Thank you, David. And God willing, we'll be able to be there with you again for a live tour, physically there
look
with
forward
you
to that.
one day. Until then, anything you need, we're here. And I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
I'm Yisrael Chai. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, everybody.
So again, we remember these beautiful lives that have been lost. Someone did ask if, they return the bodies willingly. They absolutely do not. They do not, they seem to want to cause as much emotional distress to everybody in the world. So a moment of silence for these beautiful lives that have been lost. Again, if you want to volunteer with us, reach out to me. There's plenty to do, as you all may know. And if we do it together, our voices are louder, we're stronger, and our light shines brighter. Because as you can see, these are very painful times, but even within the pain, there are some really beautiful, heroic stories and people who are stepping up and doing incredible things. So please join me. Thank you again to our sponsors, Jewish Interest-Free Loan Associations of Georgia. Again, they're there for you. So please reach out to them if you need help. Not having to worry about the interest is a big deal. Thank you again to Congregation B'nai Torah for showing your support, not only, to Atlanta Israel Coalition by supporting this program, but, to the world. I know we have a lot of you here from all over the world, and it's so important to bear witness and share what you've seen. We'll have it out on our YouTube page also if you want to share. The Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta, the Gather Grants, and Israel and Atlanta are Consulate General to the Southeast United States. Again, thank you, JIFLA. And we try to make it available to everyone at no cost, so you can participate and not have to worry about that. So thank you again, everyone, for joining, and reach out if you want to participate. And of course, take the survey. Take care, everybody, and give someone a hug.